What if your home was built to keep you from ever seeing your own reflection? In the house with no mirrors, a grieving father's strange design hides a chilling secret, one that explains why the family avoids mirrors, and the revenge that's been waiting, hidden within its walls. The house on Willow Lane was famous for what it lacked. No matter how many times neighbors visited, they always left whispering about the same thing: there wasn't a single mirror in the entire place. Not in the bathrooms, not in the bedrooms, not even in the grand foyer with its sweeping staircase and chandelier. The walls were lined with family portraits, antique clocks, and shelves of dusty books, but not a single reflective surface. For the children who grew up there, Evelyn, the eldest, and her younger brother, Sam, it was simply the way things were. Their father, Henry, had built the house himself after their mother's death, pouring his grief into every brick and beam. He was a quiet man, haunted and stern, who never spoke of the past and never allowed mirrors inside. Evelyn remembered asking about it once, when she was 7. "Why don't we have mirrors, Daddy?" she'd asked, her voice small in the cavernous kitchen. Henry's face had gone pale, his eyes distant. "Mirrors show things we're better off forgetting," he'd replied, and that was the end of it. Over time, the children learned not to ask questions. They learned to comb their hair by touch, to check their clothes in the reflection of darkened windows, to avoid the curiosity of friends who found their home unsettling. But as Evelyn grew older, the absence of mirrors began to feel less like a quirk and more like a warning. She noticed the way her father flinched at his own reflection in a spoon, the way he covered shiny surfaces with cloths, the way he grew angry if anyone brought a compact or a piece of polished metal into the house. Sam, ever the rebel, once snuck a small mirror from a friend's backpack and hid it under his bed. When Henry found it, he smashed it to pieces and grounded Sam for a month. "Some things are dangerous," he'd said, voice trembling. "Some things should stay buried." The house became a world unto itself, sealed off from the outside. But secrets, Evelyn knew, had a way of seeping through even the thickest walls. And in the house with no mirrors, the biggest secret of all was the one no one dared to face. Evelyn's memories of her mother were hazy, like a dream she could almost recall. There were flashes of laughter, the scent of lavender, the warmth of a gentle hand on her cheek. But most of all, there was the night everything changed, a night of thunder and shouting, of glass breaking and her father's anguished cries. After that, her mother was gone, and the house began to change. Henry threw himself into building, working late into the night, refusing help from friends or family. He filled the house with books and clocks, but never mirrors. He grew distant, his grief hardening into silence. Sam, younger and more defiant, tried to break through their father's shell. He asked questions, pushed boundaries, and got into trouble at school. Evelyn, meanwhile, became the caretaker, cooking meals, keeping the house clean, and trying to hold the family together. She watched her father grow more withdrawn, his eyes shadowed with secrets. Sometimes, late at night, she heard him talking to someone in the empty living room, his voice low and desperate. She wondered if he was talking to their mother, or to the ghosts of his own regrets. As the years passed, the siblings grew apart. Evelyn excelled in school, eager to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the house. Sam drifted, falling in with a rough crowd, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. But no matter how far they strayed, the house always pulled them back. It was as if the walls themselves were alive, watching, waiting. One day, while cleaning the attic, Evelyn found a locked trunk hidden beneath a pile of old blankets. The trunk was heavy, its surface scarred and battered. She tried the key from her father's desk, and the lock clicked open. Inside, she found a collection of letters, photographs, and a small, ornate box. The letters were addressed to her mother, written in her father's hand. They spoke of love, of loss, and of a terrible mistake that could never be undone. The photographs showed a younger Henry, smiling beside a woman who looked nothing like Evelyn's mother. Evelyn's heart pounded as she realized the truth. Her father had loved someone before her mother. Someone who had vanished from the family's history, erased as thoroughly as the mirrors from their home. The ornate box, when opened, revealed a single, blood-stained handkerchief and a shard of broken glass. Evelyn stared at her own distorted reflection in the glass, a chill running down her spine. She knew, in that moment, that the house was hiding more than grief. It was hiding a secret that could destroy them all. Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that the house was watching her. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of shadow in the hallway, felt like a warning. She hid the trunk's contents in her closet, afraid of what her father might do if he found them. But the questions gnawed at her. Who was the woman in the photographs? What was the terrible mistake her father had written about? And why did he fear mirrors so much? She confided in Sam, showing him the letters and the blood-stained handkerchief. Sam's eyes widened as he read their father's words. "He never told us any of this," he whispered. "Why would he hide it?" Evelyn shook her head. "I think something happened, something bad. And I think it has to do with the mirrors." Together, they began to investigate. They searched the house for clues, checking every nook and cranny for hidden compartments or secret messages. In the basement, behind a loose brick, they found a small, dust-covered mirror. It was old, its surface clouded with age, but when Evelyn wiped it clean, she saw something that made her gasp. Her own reflection stared back at her, but behind her, in the mirror's depths, was the faint outline of a woman's face, her eyes filled with sorrow and rage. Sam saw it too. "Did you see that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Evelyn nodded, her heart pounding. "We have to find out who she is." They took the mirror to their room, studying it by flashlight. The woman's face appeared only in the darkest corners, her features shifting and blurred. Sometimes, she seemed to mouth words they couldn't hear. Other times, her eyes locked onto theirs, pleading for help. Evelyn began to have nightmares, visions of the woman trapped behind glass, screaming for release. She woke in a cold sweat, the image burned into her mind. Sam grew restless, snapping at Evelyn and their father, his temper flaring at the slightest provocation. The house felt heavier, the air thick with secrets. One night, unable to sleep, Evelyn crept downstairs and found her father sitting in the dark, staring at the empty space above the fireplace where a mirror should have hung. "Why did you do it?" she whispered. Henry didn't look at her. "Some things are better left unseen," he replied, his voice hollow. Evelyn realized then that her father was as much a prisoner of the house as they were. And whatever secret he was hiding, it was about to come to light. The next morning, Evelyn and Sam confronted their father with the mirror. Henry recoiled, his face ashen. "Where did you find that?" he demanded. Evelyn held her ground. "In the basement. We saw her, Dad. The woman in the mirror." "Who is she?" Henry's hands shook as he took the mirror, his eyes filling with tears. "Her name was Margaret," he said at last. "She was my first love. Before your mother. We were going to be married, but something happened." He paused, his voice breaking. "She died. And it was my fault." He told them the story in fits and starts. Margaret had been beautiful, vivacious, and fiercely independent. But she had a jealous streak, and their relationship was tumultuous. One night, after a terrible argument, Margaret stormed out of the house. Henry followed, desperate to make amends. They fought in the rain, their voices echoing through the empty streets. In a moment of anger, Henry pushed her. She fell, hitting her head on the curb. She died before the ambulance arrived. Henry was never charged. Margaret's death was ruled an accident. But he never forgave himself. He married Evelyn and Sam's mother, trying to build a new life, but the guilt never left him. He began to see Margaret's face in every mirror, her eyes accusing, her mouth twisted in rage. He smashed every mirror in the house, desperate to escape her ghost. But the haunting only grew worse. Evelyn and Sam listened in stunned silence. The pieces fell into place, the absence of mirrors, the blood-stained handkerchief, the woman in the glass. Margaret's spirit was trapped, her anger poisoning the house. And now, with the mirror unearthed, her presence was growing stronger. Henry begged his children to forgive him, to help him put Margaret's spirit to rest. "I can't do it alone," he whispered. "I need you." Evelyn and Sam agreed, but they knew it wouldn't be easy. The house with no mirrors was about to reveal its darkest secret, and the revenge that had been waiting within its walls. Determined to free Margaret's spirit, the family began researching ways to break the haunting. Evelyn scoured the library for books on ghosts and unfinished business, while Sam searched online forums for stories of vengeful spirits. Henry, racked with guilt, spent his days wandering the house, muttering apologies to the empty rooms. They learned that spirits trapped by violent death often lingered, bound to the place of their passing or to objects that held their pain. Mirrors, in particular, were said to be portals, gateways between the living and the dead. If Margaret's spirit was trapped in the mirror, they would need to confront her directly, to acknowledge her pain and seek her forgiveness. Evelyn suggested a ritual, a pact of glass. They would gather in the living room at midnight, the mirror placed at the center of a circle of salt. Each family member would speak to Margaret, confessing their regrets and asking for her release. Henry was terrified, but agreed. "It's the only way," he said. That night, the family gathered in the darkened room, the mirror gleaming in the candlelight. Evelyn spoke first, her voice trembling. "Margaret, I'm sorry for what happened to you. You didn't deserve to be forgotten." Sam followed, his words blunt but sincere. "We want you to be free. Please let us help you." Finally, Henry knelt before the mirror, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry, Margaret. I loved you. I never meant to hurt you. Please forgive me." The air grew cold, and the candle flames flickered. In the mirror, Margaret's face appeared, clearer than ever. She stared at Henry, her eyes filled with sorrow and rage. For a moment, it seemed she would lash out, but then her expression softened. "I forgive you," she whispered, her voice echoing through the room. The mirror cracked, a spider web of fractures spreading across its surface. The candles went out, and the room was plunged into darkness. When the lights came back on, the mirror was shattered, and Margaret's presence was gone. The house felt lighter, the air clearer. The family embraced, tears of relief and grief mingling. The pact of glass had been fulfilled, and the revenge that had haunted their home was finally laid to rest. In the days that followed, the house seemed to breathe easier. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and the oppressive weight that had hung over the family for years began to lift. Henry, though still haunted by guilt, found a measure of peace. He spoke more openly about the past, sharing stories of Margaret and their mother, allowing Evelyn and Sam to understand the man he had been and the man he had become. Evelyn and Sam, too, began to heal. They talked late into the night, sharing memories and fears, rebuilding the bond that had been strained by years of secrets. They invited friends over, filling the house with laughter and music for the first time in years. The absence of mirrors no longer felt like a curse, but a choice, a way to honor the past without being trapped by it. But the house was not done revealing its secrets. While repainting the living room, Sam discovered a hidden compartment behind the fireplace. Inside was a bundle of letters, written in Margaret's hand. The letters told a different story, one of love, jealousy, and betrayal. Margaret had suspected Henry of infidelity, and her anger had grown into obsession. She had threatened to leave him, to ruin his reputation, to take everything he loved. The night she died, she had come to the house with a knife, intent on confrontation. The truth was more complicated than Henry had admitted. Margaret's death was not just an accident, but the tragic end of a relationship poisoned by mistrust and revenge. Evelyn and Sam confronted their father, who broke down in tears. "I tried to protect you from the truth," he sobbed. "But secrets only grow stronger in the dark." The family realized that forgiveness was not a single act, but a journey. They vowed to face the truth together, to honor Margaret's memory without letting it define them. The house with no mirrors had been built to hide grief, but now it stood as a testament to the power of facing the past. With the truth out in the open, the family began to rebuild. Henry sought therapy, determined to confront his guilt and find a way forward. Evelyn and Sam supported him, attending sessions and encouraging him to share his feelings. The process was slow and painful, but each step brought them closer together. Evelyn decided to bring mirrors back into the house, one by one. She started with a small hand mirror, placing it on her dresser. At first, she was afraid of seeing Margaret's face, of awakening old ghosts. But as days passed, the mirror reflected only her own image, tired but hopeful. Sam followed suit, hanging a mirror in his room. The house, once devoid of reflection, began to shine with new light. They held a memorial for Margaret, inviting friends and neighbors to share stories and memories. Henry spoke of his love for her, his regrets, and his hope for forgiveness. The community, once wary of the family's secrets, offered support and understanding. The house became a place of healing, its walls echoing with laughter and love. Evelyn and Sam found strength in each other, their bond deepened by the trials they had faced. They promised to keep the house open, to welcome reflection and truth, to never let secrets fester in the dark again. The house with no mirrors was no longer a prison, but a home. As the seasons changed, so did the family. Henry found peace in gardening, tending to the roses his wife had loved. Evelyn graduated from college, returning home to help care for her father. Sam started a small business, bringing new life to the old neighborhood. The house, once shrouded in grief, became a beacon of hope. They opened the doors to the community, hosting gatherings and celebrations. The absence of mirrors became a story they shared with guests, a lesson in the dangers of secrets and the power of forgiveness. Children played in the yard, their laughter echoing through the halls. The house, once a place of sorrow, was now filled with joy. Evelyn and Sam continued to honor Margaret's memory, keeping her letters and photographs in a special box. They visited her grave, leaving flowers and sharing stories. Henry, though still haunted by the past, found comfort in the love of his children. The family had faced the darkness together, and emerged stronger. The house with no mirrors stood as a testament to their journey, a journey from grief to forgiveness, from secrets to truth, from darkness to light. Years passed, and the family grew. Evelyn married, bringing her husband and children into the home. Sam found love as well, his partner helping him run the business. Henry grew old, his hair silver and his eyes kind. The house, once a place of pain, was now filled with life. On the anniversary of Margaret's death, the family gathered in the living room. They lit candles, shared memories, and reflected on the journey they had taken. Evelyn brought out the small, cracked mirror from the basement, placing it on the mantel. "We remember you, Margaret," she said softly. "We forgive you. And we forgive ourselves." The family joined hands, their reflections mingling in the glass. The house, once devoid of mirrors, now shone with the light of forgiveness. The past was not forgotten, but it no longer held them captive. They had faced the truth, and found peace. On a bright spring morning, Evelyn hung a large mirror in the foyer, the first the house had seen in decades. Sunlight streamed through the windows, filling the room with warmth. The family gathered, their faces reflected in the glass, smiling and at peace. The house with no mirrors was no more. It was now a home of reflection, of truth, of love. The journey had been long and painful, but the family had emerged stronger. They had faced their grief, their secrets, and their fears. And in doing so, they had found forgiveness. As guests arrived for a celebration, they marveled at the beauty of the house, the warmth of its rooms, the light that filled every corner. Evelyn smiled, knowing that the house's true secret was not the absence of mirrors, but the courage to face what they revealed. If you believe in the power of facing the truth and finding forgiveness, share this story with someone who needs hope. What would you do if your home was built to hide a secret? Let us know in the comments below.